Welcome to the show. Now, South Africa will know on January the 9th if they have won the rights to stage the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations or if the rights have gone to their North African counterparts, Egypt. But for many football journalists, the Confederation of African Football's decision should be straightforward, as there has been only one African country that has hosted the biggest show of them all, the World Cup. CGTN's Sias Plessis gets our show underway.
The Rainbow Nation makes a compelling case as to why the top brass, the Confederation for African Football, should look no further than their bid. After all, the biggest event in world football was staged in the country in 2010, and to this day many regard the global event as the best yet.
We have hosted the World Cup with even more teams than what we have right now in CAF. I mean, if you can look at it, the infrastructure is there. We are ready to go. The communication, telecommunications, transportation, hotels, accommodation, whatever that you can think of, it's already in existence. So South Africa, for them, is just to say, when do we start with the preparation?
The South African government had shown interest before granting SAFA permission to submit an official bid, but it voiced concerns over the amount of money it would take to host the event, and it required guarantees from CAF on splitting ticket sales and television rights.
I think that has been ironed out from the conversation that I've had with people and the way things are within the government. If they were not going to be able to actually carry the budget or come up with the budget to host the tournament, because also it's a money spinner for our country.
South Africa is free of major terrorist threats, and SAFA would have stressed that to CAF when submitting their bid at the end of 2018.
There's no Boko Haram in South Africa, let's be honest. There's no threat, there's no political instability. You know, everybody's driving and walking and looking towards the same direction to say, let's bring it home and host it nicely. Whether we win it or not, we'll leave that to our Bafana boys.
It is also not the first time that South Africa has been a last-minute replacement for the continental showpiece. And if history is anything to go by, the Rainbow Nation has risen to the occasion each time it has been called upon.
In 2013, when we held it, also it was very last minute when we were asked to host. And so far we've done a very great job. Whenever we've been asked to host or become part of a tournament, we've done it successfully.
As far as many journalists are concerned, South Africa hosting the 2019 Continental Championships is a mere formality. Football scribes feel that with a proven track record, the backing of the government and the political stability, that the CAF executive has a simple decision to make on January 9th. Sias Plessis, CGTN, Soweto.
Meanwhile, Egypt is the only other nation in the running to host the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations tournament alongside South Africa. The North African nation expressed interest in taking on the duty of hosting the event that's now just 5 months away. Egypt had initially stated that they would not host the expanded 24-team tournament if Morocco also expressed interest. The 7-time champions have hosted the event 3 times in the past, in 1974, 1986 and 2006. Wednesday's CAF executive meeting in the Senegalese capital will determine which country will replace Cameroon as tournament hosts. Well, now for more on this, let's now go live to Mluleki Ntsabo, a sports broadcaster and commentator who joins us in Johannesburg, and Marwan Said, who is the general manager of sports website kingfoot.com. He joins us live from Cairo. Mluleki, I'll begin with you. The decision over the hosts of this year's tournament is expected Wednesday. How confident is South Africa of securing the hosting rights to Afcon 2019?
Well, good evening, first of all, and to the viewers. I think the main thing is that South Africa, from time to time, they've been able to do what has been expected of them. Being the last-minute host, and they come to the party for so many times on the Afcon and also in the Chan competition before that. So they do have capable abilities of being hosts. Number one being the stadiums which are already built and are ready to play as well, and the transportation. There's just quite a lot. South Africa is a tourist destination, so I think they are ready. And I think with the consultation with South African Football Association and the government, they gave that thumbs up, and it should be okay for those who will be handing out that decision. And I think South Africa are waiting just for that decision, and they should be able to host.
All right, and turning to you, Marwa 9 in Cairo, of course, the host nation does stand to gain as potential hosts, including Egypt. What could be the selling points that do see the tournament headed north this time round?
Well, Egypt is a footballing nation. We breathe football, and this is very important if a nation needs to host such a big event. We have the stadiums for it. We have two of the biggest stadiums in Africa. We have the facilities, the hotel facilities, the transportation, the training facilities. We are a very touristic country as well. But with that being said, there's a very important point when comparing Egypt's bid with South Africa, because everyone has to be realistic. At this point, if it was any other nation than South Africa, I would argue that Egypt is the place to host this tournament. The thing is, our bid does not look so confident, does it? Because we don't have fans in the stadiums on regular basis. We can say we have some slight security concerns as well that might scare off people from this from us hosting it. We can host it, but is it the right time? This is the main question that's there to be asked. South Africa is a very big country. It also can host this tournament. If it did host the World Cup, why can it not host the African Cup of Nations? And this is why we have to look at it in a perspective of the opponent that's there against Egypt. Can Egypt host the African Cup of Nations? Probably so. Can they host it instead of South Africa? It's very difficult to say.
All right, and turning to you, Mluleki, once again, this, of course, is spanning out of Cameroon's inability to host this time round. What exactly needs to be done across the continent to ensure preparedness in good time, especially considering that this will be an extended format?
Yeah, Marwan has just hit it on the nail. First up, one of the two things that he put up was that there's sort of an insecurity in terms of whether Egypt is it fully safe, is it 100% safe? And there's a bit of doubt when you go there, but also the infrastructure which is goes around that I think all countries should be having stadiums, and not only stadiums though, but those stadiums must be active. They mustn't be white elephants, of which is something that in South Africa we nearly experienced after the World Cup in 2010. But now they seem to be functioning. Maybe one or two of those stadiums would be having problems in terms of hosting events or games week in, week out as well. So if you can build that, but the problem is once you have those facilities, are you going to be able to maintain them? And it's very expensive to do so. So countries will be tentative in terms of putting up those structures when they aren't going to be maintained, in terms of getting the money back of what they spent as well. So I was going to say what needs to be done was to try and build those facilities, but can they be maintained? It remains a question across the continent.
All right, gentlemen, I'll keep you on the line for just a moment as we shift to something else that's coming out of Dakar this week. Let's take a look at who is in the running for the men and women's awards at the CAF Player of the Year awards ceremony. Reigning Men's Player of the Year, Mohamed Salah, goes up against his Liverpool teammate Sadio Mane and 2015 winner Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang for the 2018 Men's Player of the Year prize. Salah enjoyed a stellar year with his club, going into the UEFA Champions League final and the World Cup, as did Mane. Aubameyang maintains his familiar status among the top three finalists since 2014. In the women's race, the Nigerian duo of Asisat Oshoala and Francisca Ordega are up against South African Thembi Katlana for the African Women's Player of the Award 2018. Three-time winner Oshoala has her eyes on a fourth title after leading her team to the defense of the women's Afcon title in Ghana last December. Ordega, meanwhile, has enjoyed a smashing season with her club while also defending the Afcon title. They will have their work cut out for them against Banyana Ford Katlana, who was the star of the tournament, winning Most Valuable Player and Top Scorer awards on the way to the final. Well, we still have sports broadcaster and commentator Mluleki Nsabo and Marwan Said, general manager of kingfoot.com, joining us. Mluleki, I'll come back to you. What a season Thembi Katlana has had. What are her chances of beating Oshola and Ordega on Tuesday night?
Yeah, Oshola, of course, going for the third consecutively, and she's been amazing. I mean, playing for a club like Liverpool, that says something as well. It's been a sort of a season that has been showed some consistency of what she can do. But Thembi Kgatlana is just, she came from nowhere in terms of being at the Africa Cup of Nations and scoring those 5 goals. She's a top goal scorer, Golden Boot, helping her side in qualifying for the World Cup too, and going to the final, and also playing for Houston Dash in America, and that has helped. And I think this has been an amazing year for her. I just certainly hope that she can do something that we haven't done in South Africa for 10 years. And last time it was Noko Motlo in 2008 when she won this prestigious award. But Oshola, I think she's a strong candidate at the moment.
And Marwan, obviously a tough race in the women's division there. Surely this is a major indicator of how strong women's football is in Nigeria, isn't it?
It's a very, very big indication as to what Nigeria are doing now. It's not, they did not just start to do it just a few years ago. No, they took care of the women's football in Nigeria from years back. They participated in the 1991 World Cup. For example, countries well developed like Egypt, who they care much more about the men's football team. They do not care as much about the women's football team. We are unranked. But you see the work that Nigeria has put up, participating in the game from such a long time.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the discussion. That's all we can have right now. Mluleki Nsabo, sports broadcaster and commentator, joining us live there from Joburg, while Marwan Said, the general manager of kingfoot.com, speaking to us live from Cairo.